where to begin your self-trigger point release work if you're suffering with chronic recurring headaches, coming up next. I would say in the 30 years and thousands of people that I've seen over my career, that every single person that came to me with chronic recurring headaches had that slouching posture. And we just released a video on that. We'll drop a link in the description below about that and really understanding how that works. But now I want to show you how to release those muscles so that you can get yourself in a better position to relieve your headaches. You have to start in the big three. You have to release the pecs, lats, and teres. And here are the specific trigger point release work. You're going to need that soft ball to get started with, and you're going to have a great time, maybe an exciting time when you first are starting this work, to open up the chest so that the head can rest back over the shoulders and your headaches can finally go away. To release your pec major, you're going to want a soft ball to start with. It's always best to start with a soft ball. And you may also want a yoga block to use against the wall, especially if you have larger breasts or more tissue. It's going to help to bring the wall to you and to your pecs. Couple things about working at the wall. The closer you stand to the wall, the less pressure in the ball. The further you step away from the wall, the more your body weight sinks into the ball. So it's real easy to shift the pressure in the ball. We're gonna work right in what I call the valley of the shoulder, the place where the rib cage starts to curve down and the head of the humerus comes into the socket here. We're gonna get right in that place. We're gonna work right at the edge of pec major here, and then just kind of circling around the chest. So I'm gonna start on the right side, bring the block to the wall, and then bring the ball to the block. And then step in and then see how that feels. Do you wanna be like right here, or do you want to slide the ball down and lean in a little bit further with your body weight? So just start with some circles and some breathing, circling your body on the ball. That gives you some information. It's gonna help you start hydrating those tissues. Number one thing to begin with is hydrating the tissues. Tissues get dry, they can't release, they can't feel better. So just always starting some rolling with a soft ball, and then a little gentle rocking and rolling all around the area that you're gonna work. What that does, it starts to give you information. As all the protective tension in the tissue begins to release, you start to go, oh yeah, there's a special spot. Oh, that spot feels important. So we're circling all the way around, running along the collarbone. And then we're gonna work that edge of pec major. So you wanna get the ball right on the side. It's kind of this front flap of the armpit. That's your pec major. And we wanna go side to side on that. So just turning your body, getting that soft ball along there. You'll feel there's some tender spots in there. There's always some tender spots right in there. Has a strong pull, really brings that shoulder forward. So we wanna open that up. I found a tender spot, I'm gonna sink in. Now you have a couple options. When you're releasing your trigger points, you can just sink in and breathe, or you can sink in, breathe, and do a little bit of movement with the arms. You could slide your arm up and down the wall. You could even bring that arm kind of behind you a little bit. It's gonna make that point feel more exquisite. I'm gonna demo this on this back wall so you can really see what I'm doing here. Sinking in, maybe bringing that arm behind you, doing some movement, pinning that point, breathing, relaxing your jaw. And then don't stay too long on a tender spot. Right? We're trying to gain the trust of the nervous system. So you don't want to stay too long or push too hard on a tender spot. Your nervous system isn't going to like that. It's going to start contracting that muscle. So I just move the ball up a little higher. I'm right at this edge of pec major on my right side. And I'm gonna sink right into that upper edge. And I find a tender spot in there. So I'm just gonna take a few breaths here. relaxing, relaxing the body. Breaths to help the tenderness and the tension release out of your body. And then circling around again, moving. Better to do a little bit each day than to try to just hammer it out and try to get it all to release in one day. It's not gonna work. It's not the way it works. Now we're gonna get the ball right in this valley, right here, the valley of the shoulder. Gonna sink in there. You can start to use a firmer ball if you need. Softball's really plenty of pressure. And then I do like to pin that and move the arm up and down the wall. Sliding that hand up and down the wall while pinning that spot. I'm gonna show that on the back wall again one more time. Sinking into that valley and then sliding the arm up and down. Maybe even stretching behind. Might find yourself rocking a little bit. And start circling around that area. Great. And then last thing, we're just gonna kind of go up and down the center of the right side of the chest. Up and down the center of the right side of the chest. There's often a little line of tension right here. Going up and down. And I feel that I have a tender spot a little low there in my chest. So I'm gonna sink into it and take a couple of breaths. Sometimes there's so much protective tension around the trigger points that you actually have to do that soft rolling, sink in, and see what happens. Like check some different parts in your chest and see if something kind of opens up, because there might be a lot of protective tension. It might just feel real bumpy. All right, let's take a break in between the two sides just to check and see how open the shoulders are and how open the chest is. So I'm gonna just kind of stretch my arms back. I don't know if you can really see that, but my right arm goes, I'm not making that up, that my right arm goes many inches back further than my left. Just that little short practice, my right arm is able to go back several inches further. I've already really shifted my whole shoulder girdle on that right side. So now we're gonna do a little bit on the left, grabbing the ball, grabbing the block, and then coming back to now the left side. Put the ball on the block. Again, you can just do it right on the wall, but see how it smashes my nose into the wall. So you just get a little bit more space, especially if you're having neck issues. It might be hard to kind of keep your neck pulled back. So using a block or a box, really give a little bit more space for your face. Circling, rocking. This first part is about hydration, getting more fluids in the tissue, getting those layers of tissues unstuck, opening the pecs from really being adhered to the rib cage, and freeing the whole shoulder girdle. And start noticing, where are your tender spots? Breathing, circling around. So now we're gonna go to that edge of the pecs. I'm just gonna move my arm out of the way so you can see a little better. Going to that edge, pec major, kind of clunk clunk, feels a bit like a speed bump. Then I get right into that area. Oh yeah, that's tender. So I'm just gonna sink and breathe. Really grateful that I have a soft ball right now and not mashing into that tenderness with too firm or too hard of a ball. Please don't use a lacrosse ball in your body. Your body does not like that. That does not woo your nervous system at all. And so we can drop a link to that video, why to not use a lacrosse ball. That's a good one to check out because it really is not welcome in your soft tissues. So now I'm going to move up a little bit and go side to side. Just feeling into that edge of pec major. Freeing this edge really helps the pecs to totally soften. So I come in, I feel into that tender spot right there. Ah, yeah. Remembering you can do some movement. You can twist a little to find just the right angle. Make sure you're getting just the right spot. Maybe the arm opens back behind you. It's going to make it more exciting in that spot right there. Just staying a few breaths. Okay. And then we're going to go up right up into that corner, that valley of the shoulder where the humerus and the rib cage come together. It's real thick here. The upper section of pec major is along here. The clavicular head of pec major is along here. So we want to get right into that valley. And sinking in. What's deep to this is also pec minor, so you're starting to kind of warm up pec minor area because you're going to want to release that next. It feels so good to sink in, and then doing a little bit of movement. I'm going to come back to this back wall again. Right up, I can feel the ball kind of pressing into the top of the humerus. And I'm just sliding my arm up and down, opening back, sinking in. You can lean back even more, get a little deeper in that valley, stepping back, leaning your body forward a little more, if your body allows. We're not looking for this to hurt a whole lot. You'll find if it doesn't hurt, your body actually responds better. So just noticing where your tenderness is, being able to sweep with it. All right. And we're going to go back to just kind of circling around. Make sure you roll along the bottom of the collarbone. Circling around that left side of the pecs. And then finding that center line of the pecs. I'm just going up and down. I like to turn my block this way so the ball doesn't roll off. And up and down. There we go. Up and down, right in the center of the left side of the chest. Up to the collarbone. Notice I just kind of move the ball around. I'm really going up and down that center line of the chest. And I find that there's a little spot right in there. I'm going to sink in and just take a few breaths. You might want to wiggle a little, breathe in your belly. And that feels better already. Great. Nice. So we're going to put our tools down, and then I'm going to go back and just kind of check. Does my left arm now open back as much as my right? Yes, it does. Both arms now are moving back, I'd say 6-8 inches further than they were before. So once in a while, getting into that pec minor, we're going to use the double ball, and we're going to place that ball right up in that corner. Remember, we talk about that corner. I talk about the corner of the shoulder. So here's the collarbone right here. And then here's this little valley right here between the arm bone and the collarbone. So we're going to put the ball just below, about an inch below that collarbone. Stabilize it with your hands. I'm doing my left side, so I'm using my right hand to stabilize that ball. And then come to the wall. If you're a little too high, you'll just be bumping into the collarbone and the bones. And if you sink in there and it just keeps sinking, you don't feel anything, just move the ball down about a 1/2 inch towards your feet. We're going to press in, we're going to lean in.
Now, I introduced this practice in another one of our classes together. We're going to add some movement to it. So here you can see I stayed close so that you could see where that is. Now I'm going to step further away from the camera so you get a bigger picture of what I'm going to do with my arms. So we're going to sink in. Oh, so tender. That's good. And then I'm going to take my hand up. And that's it. You can slide your hand up there. You could slide your hand up a little higher. You're going to feel it starts to kind of block the tissue. So find just the right placement of that left arm if you're doing the left side on the wall. And you might decide that you just want to sink in, and that's totally fine too, but you can play with like a little half snow angel here. Notice if you're getting any numbness and tingling down the arm. Notice how tender this spot is. If it's real tender for you, I'd like you to take one more breath here, please. And then we're going to move off the ball, do some big circles with the shoulders. Okay, great. So different both sides. Remember how wonderful? My left side goes back way easier than my right now. So let's clear that pec minor on the right side now, getting the ball right in that corner. Okay, here's clavicle right here, getting the ball right in there. Now that's going to be a little too high. I got to drop down just about a half an inch or so and take that ball to the wall, just like that. I step my body back a little so I can lean in more. I always like to step back with one foot so that I have one foot right under my body, and that really helps me to feel supported. Okay, so you don't have to be moving around like this. I'm trying to give you different angles to see stuff. And so sinking in, and then you could decide, is that the right spot? If you twist your body slightly, you can feel that changes. So find just the right angle for your body today. And just the right angle means there's something real tender in there and it feels important, right? It's just exquisitely tender and exciting to have a ball pressed in there. And then you might play with those half snow angels. Once I get up about shoulder height with my hand, then I feel like it's just blocking the tissue. So I'm going to keep my snow angel low. Some of you might have a different experience. I'm going to bring my hand up around shoulder height, keep sinking into the ball. Just finding a tender spot, an inch or so down from that clavicle, right at that intersection with the arm bone. Breathing your belly. Let's take one big breath up into the chest. Great. Relax the arm. Sink in just one more moment. And then back off. Lean away. Roll that shoulder around. We're going to do a little bit of shoulder strengthening action here. So tracing big circles with the elbows like we started. I hope you're all doing okay, feeling good, finding exciting things to work with in your body. This is a really wonderful movement break to take throughout your day. You go into how wonderful, and I like to bring a little back arch into it. How wonderful. And then the arms come and cross, and I drop my chin. How wonderful. And cross. So it's almost like cat cow if you practice yoga, where you're on all fours and you're flexing and extending the back. And then we're adding this nice sweet chest opener and strengthening external rotation in the shoulders. We're going to do this for about 15 more seconds. If you have shoulder stuff, Next stuff. This helps to build the strength in the direction that is the healthiest alignment of the bones. Looking up as far as it's comfortable, cross. How wonderful, cross. How wonderful. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
So the lats and teres are the other muscles in the big three. So you'll want to release your pecs first, and then you can release your lats and teres so that the whole shoulder girdle is open, your neck is freer, your shoulder blades are setting back where they belong. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to release lats and teres so that you can have some different tools in your toolbox. You're going to want a foam roller, preferably a kind of squishier foam roller, a foam roller that's a little bit soft. You're gonna want a yoga block. I'm gonna show you how to use a yoga block to release even a little bit of pecs at the same time. And you're gonna want a soft ball and a blanket. So you're gonna need those 4 things. If you don't have a blanket, just grab a towel, something like that, something to cushion that yoga block. So I'm gonna show you first on your foam roller. Put these off to the side. You're gonna get on your foam roller and you're going to get down on one side. Now, latissimus holds its tension right near that bottom corner of the shoulder blade. So here is the bottom corner of my shoulder blade, and then here is my lats. And if I walk out into that last little section, I could even just squeeze it, and it's tender. I can feel that that's a really exciting spot. And this muscle, this part of this muscle can radiate down. It can feel like ulnar nerve entrapment. It can radiate down the outer edge of your arm, even all the way down to your outer fingers, the pinky and the ring finger. So we definitely want to get rid of that radiating numbness, tingling, pain, whatever, and at the same time, free the whole shoulder. So I'm gonna lay down. You'll see that there's space in between my foam roller and my armpit. I can feel as I roll back, there it is. I'm getting a little bit, it gets a little bit more exciting as I drop that top shoulder back. So I'm just rocking forward and back with the top shoulder. Ooh, latissimus. And then when I feel that I'm like right on that real special spot, I'm gonna hang out there for a few breaths. If it's hard, if you're struggling holding up your head, you could just support your head in your hand. That just really feels so much better. Now I'm just gonna glide that foam roller up a little bit, and I'm gonna start rocking forward and back again with the top shoulder. So good. And right along that outer edge, about halfway up the shoulder blade, is Teres Major. And Teres Major can also refer down the outer arm, and it tends to be a pretty tender spot, kind of like a mother lode spot. Sometimes it's a little harder to find with the broad surface of the foam roller. So we're gonna find it really well with the yoga block in just a moment. It's often really good to start with a little bit of a softer pressure. Get right there. And sink in, take a breath. And then you can kind of roll up and down along that back edge of the shoulder blade. So good. So on your side, working lower part of that back of the armpit, lats and teres, and working up that back section of the armpit with your foam roller. Now, the next way that I'm gonna show you is using a yoga block itself, just a block. And basically we're gonna use these edges of the block to compress into, you can do pecs this way too. I'm gonna focus on using this for lats and teres. So you're gonna put your block down on the floor. I highly recommend that you take a blanket and lay it over, because those edges of the block are pretty intense, right? And so now you're going to just lay over that yoga block, just like that. And then as you roll forward, your pecs drive into that front edge of the block. And then as you roll back, lats and teres drive into that front edge of the block. So I want to notice, I want to feel it right at the bottom corner of the shoulder blade. That's where the main trigger point is in latissimus. That's the trigger point that can make it ache even under your shoulder blade, where it feels like the pain is under the shoulder blade, and can also radiate down that back of the arm. Ooh, and this is a little bit more specific than that foam roller was, so a little bit more exciting. I'm going to sink into that spot. Take a breath. You won't always feel the points release. What you're doing is getting some information from your body and sending a little bit of an interrupting message like, okay, body, you've been holding this tension, you're causing me pain, let's let that go. So rocking a little bit forward and back feels better, feels better. And then I'm gonna slide down, body slides down, so that front edge of the block now is a little higher up along my shoulder blade, and I rock back. And then I rock forward. I can really sink in if I want to get into that, the pecs that way. And then as I rock back, I'm getting Teres Major. Now with this, as opposed to the foam roller, I'm getting much more specific pressure in Teres Major. And it's going to take a couple of breaths here. And it feels good. It's not too intense. I'm just always like, breathing, letting go of tension. So it's not really terribly intense. I can feel it's an important spot, and that's what you're looking for, those places that just feel really important and exquisite in your body. Take another breath. And that's it. We just need to get that bottom tip of the shoulder blade and then up about halfway along the shoulder blade. And I always like to do a little bit more rocking. Feels so good. All right, now version number 3. I'm gonna switch back to my other side. For this part, I'm going to show you how to use this soft ball to get into the lats and teres with the blocks. We're gonna place that block down like this, and we're gonna put the ball right on top of it. And then remember, we want to start down low at that bottom corner of the shoulder blade. And then with this, you can actually kind of rock your body a little bit. I really like this version of this release. This is my favorite version because I can choose how much of my body weight I sink down, or I can kind of stay lifted up a little bit. And I have a little bit more mobility, more than I have on the foam roller. So I'm just rocking back and forth. I can really kind of grab the lats and teres, staying down on that bottom corner of the shoulder blade. There I can find real specifically my spot. Now my top shoulder has dropped back just a little bit because I want to make sure that I'm at the back of the armpit, and I find that edge of lats. And then we're gonna move the ball up, move the body down a little bit, get up about halfway. I can really feel that I'm right at the edge of the shoulder blade, and I'm kind of rolling forward and back on it. With the ball, it's more about moving the upper body than rolling the shoulder. On the foam roller and the block, you have to kind of tilt and move your body. But the ball, I can rock my body forward and back. So it's not just about moving that top shoulder. I'm rocking my body forward and back, getting right along that edge, about halfway up that shoulder blade outer edge. Couple of breaths. I'm gonna move off that ball. And then it's always a good idea after you do rolling to do a little bit of movement of the muscles. So lats and teres pull your arms down and an internal rotation, right? They're partly your tree climbing muscles. So any kind of like movement with rotating the shoulders in the sockets, sweeping the arms in circles, that's gonna help integrate that new information. Then you can take your arms back, squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, and just get a little opening in those shoulders. Your shoulders should feel much freer now. So pick your favorite version of releasing the lats and teres, and I hope this serves you. I'm Kat Matlock here at Free Body. Thanks so much for joining.